I got 5:01. Okay. This time I call to order the March 16th, 2026 meeting of the Delray Beach Planning and Zoning Board. Ms. Miller, if you'd call the roll, please.
Roger Coe.
Here.
Mitch Katz.
Here.
Deidre Strong.
Here.
Jim Charn.
Here.
Price Patton.
Here.
Gregory Snyder.
Here. Thank you. Are there any changes, amendments, or to the agenda?
No changes.
Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion we approve of the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, agenda's approved. We have no minutes to approve. At this point, we'll swear in anyone who wishes to speak this evening. Please stand and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Okay. At this point, we will have any comments from the public on any item that is not on our agenda.
Hello, everyone. I just came here to say thank you to this board. It has been an honor.
Could we have your name and address, Miss?
Oh, I'm sorry. I know this routine. Judy Malika, 33444.
There you go.
Thank you very much to this board. It's been an honor to serve with all of you, and I'm grateful for the collaboration of my fellow board members and the dedication of our city professionals. The conversations here are often complex and sometimes challenging, but they always come from a shared commitment to do what's best for Delray Beach. I look forward to continue to work alongside this committee as we pursue our shared goals, preserving the character of our neighborhoods, ensuring thoughtful development, and making sure Delray Beach remains a vibrant, welcoming community for generations to come. And I have a quick little something for Diane, who takes such good care of us.
Oh, you're gonna make her
Oh, look at that.
I couldn't find a more petite one, but anyway. Thank you all. I have a book club to go to, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner-elect and Board Member Emerita.
Thank you very much. Thank
Just
you.
wait till you
Thanks.
get
And I'll be
sworn in.
watching
Those
the
book
meeting
clubs
later.
you're not gonna have time for anymore.
Say again?
Wait till you get sworn in. Those book clubs you're not gonna
I
have
know,
time for.
campaign was like, I pretend to read it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye, Judy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, and we have no presentations, so we'll move on to quasi-judicial items. And I'll start by reading the quasi-judicial rules. This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with the City of Delray Beach quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be permitted to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The board members and staff and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city and the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not legally be made upon personal views as to whether the project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. Okay, I believe we have item 8A. If you could read that into the record, please.
Yes, good evening, board. I'm reading into the record file number PZ000234-2225, and we have the agent for the applicant here to present.
Ex parte.
Yeah, ex parte.
Oh, sorry. I met with the applicant and applicant's attorneys, both of them. I also met with Delray Medical Center CEO and toured the emergency room there as well. And then I drive by the site quite often.
Yeah.
None.
Beyond what I had at the initial meeting when we discussed this, which was conversation with people from Delray Medical Center and being familiar with the site. I spoke to Fire Chief Martin on the phone.
I just noticed before the meeting, I got an email from, I believe, Mr. Roach. I'm sorry wasn't able to respond. I don't usually look at my city emails.
None.
Mr. Martin's communication to us that was sitting here is the only ex parte I've had.
All right, great.
And
Thank
we
you.
all have that.
Yeah, we all have the chief submittal.
Yep.
All right. Sir, if you would.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board. My name's John Roach. I'm an in-house certified planner with the Gunster Law Firm in West Palm Beach. Behind me and with me this evening is my colleague and attorney at Gunster, Brian Seymour. As you may recall, this is a continued item as we were before you in December 2025 on behalf of our client. It was for a conditional use permit as they were proposing to build an approximately 10,860 square foot freestanding emergency department. I'll call it a FSED or a freestanding ED. This is defined in your code as a medical clinic which is permitted within the POC zoning district. The conditional use permit is relating to the fact that it is a 24-hour or late night operation. So it's not the use that is subject to the conditional use permit, it is the hours of the operation. As outlined in the staff report, all plans do have to go through the city's level 2 site plan review, and we indicated this at our first hearing in December. And then on the screen is that first plan that we presented to you. It's a conceptual site plan. It consists of a single-story building, a primary public walk-in entrance on the south side of the building facing West Atlantic Avenue, an ambulance entrance on the north side of the building, which we talked at length about during that original hearing, and then surface parking on the north, south, and east sides of the building. At that December hearing, we heard your concerns and those expressed by the surrounding residents, including those from the High Point community, which is the one immediately north of the future development site. And just for the record, the future development site is owned by our client and the applicant. However, there are no plans to build on it at this time. It is a separate parcel. So it will remain as a vacant parcel at this time. We want to get into some modifications to the plans and how we look to mitigate the concerns that we heard from you and the surrounding community at that original hearing. Mr. Seymour did reach out to High Point's legal representative on multiple occasions following that hearing, but did not hear back. But regardless, we proceeded forward with the alternative site plan with those proposed mitigation measures. So here you see the revised conceptual site plan, and I'll go through a little bit of what changed. First, we relocated the structure approximately 23 feet further south than its original placement. This additional distance maximizes the FSED's separation from the residential use to the north, while maintaining our compliance with setback requirements, buffers, and things like that along West Atlantic Avenue. So we shifted it as far south as we could possibly go. There will be approximately 393 feet of separation between the closest point of our building, which is the public entrance canopy. So it's not even the facade of the building, it's the canopy itself, to the closest residential unit within High Point. So 393, it was previously 370. The layout of the facility, and this is a big one, has been completely rotated 180 degrees. By doing so, this places the ambulance entrance on the south side of the building. They're highlighted in red. And this is, again, the furthest possible point from the High Point community to the north that you could potentially get that ambulance entrance. This allows the building to serve as a buffer itself, as a barrier between the ambulance entrance and those residential units. So now with the entrance on the north side of the building, it will be limited to public walk-ins. So that is pedestrian traffic only using that canopy on the north side. So there will be vehicular parking and then pedestrian entrance on that north side. All emergency traffic, ambulances will occur on the south side of the building. Additionally, the applicant will advance installation of the buffer along the High Point property line, which is the north side of the future development site. This will provide for additional mitigation, so we will install this buffer at the time of the construction of the FSED. We will not wait until future development of that property. And this is in addition to the buffer on the north side of our parking lot, which has been increased in size to approximately 50 feet in width. So by shifting the building and all the parking further south, we were able to increase our landscape buffer on the north side of our parking lot. And then again, with the installation of the landscaping along the High Point property line, we have multiple buffered effects from the building, from the parking, from the ambulance entrance, and so forth. Both landscape buffers will consist of a specimen live oak, which is a native species tree spaced at least 25 feet on center. This will allow for full growth of that specimen tree. In addition to that, there will be a specimen hedge, and we'll work through with staff on the exact species of each of these. For the trees, we're imagining live oaks. The hedge material could be flexible. We currently have podocarpus at this point, but we know that there's other alternatives, clusia and things like that would probably be better served. And then in addition to that, the shrubs on the inside of that hedge. So we'll have 2 layers of this, one at our parking lot and then again at the wall or the buffer or the property line with High Point, which does have an existing masonry wall that will remain. So we'll have landscaping on the south side of that existing wall. One of the other concerns that was expressed at that original hearing was security, and so we wanted to take a minute to go through the various security measures. Every FSED has measures in place to ensure the safety of its employees, the patients, as well as the surrounding community, and these will certainly be implemented here as well. FSEDs maintain controlled access through their facilities to ensure that only authorized individuals can enter sensitive areas, so employees have key cards into those restricted spaces. They remain locked at all times, and again, that badge controlled doors track, not only give them access, but track who goes in and out through those doors. Visitors are required to check in at the front desk where identification can be captured. The separate ambulance entrance ensures that the emergency medical services is delivered at a different location than where the public is coming into. And then every property has a video surveillance system, so your CCTV. And then we will also have, many of them do, and we will be sure to have, especially during the overnight hours that are subject to the conditional use, is on-site security officers that will maintain a visible presence on the site. Security staff, again, generally present overnight between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Will be there during the hours of the conditional use permit at a minimum. There's established quick response protocols with local law enforcement that are coordinated. The physical design of the building itself ensures clear visibility into waiting rooms and patient flow. And then communication systems within the FSED allow for security personnel, local police, intercom systems between spaces within the building itself. All of those will be in place to ensure that there is direct communication within those working at the facility, as well as emergency personnel that would respond if necessary. And then there's strict controls over medications and sensitive equipment. This includes medication rooms that are locked and access is monitored, automated dispensing cabinets to make sure that prescription medicines are restricted and only dispensed as prescribed. And then all security at FSEDs is reinforced through formal policies and ongoing staff training. We also, lastly, I'll go through a couple slides here we looked at all of the FSEDs that are within Palm Beach County, and we looked at them specifically with regards to their context. So I'll go through each of the one just real briefly. The first one you see here on your screen is on Lantana Road. It's the Emergency Center Lake Worth. It's located within the shopping center, and each one is identified by the red icon there. You can see it at the north end of that shopping plaza. However, that plaza is immediately adjacent to residential to its east. The blue canopy there on the left side of that building is the ambulatory or ambulance entrance, almost the exact same configuration which we're proposing, where the ambulance is on the opposite side of the residential. but you can see its proximity to that residential use. The second one here is a former CVS building that was converted into a freestanding ED. It's a little bit more in a commercial corridor than our site. However, there is multifamily and single family within close proximity to it. So you can see that there. The next one is definitely want to highlight. This is located on PGA Boulevard. It is within Midtown Plaza. It's a mixed-use development consisting of retail, residential, restaurant, everything like that. The red icon there, the east or the west end of that building, is the location of a freestanding emergency department, and it is immediately adjacent. If you to the up and left, or to the northwest, is residential uses immediately across that intersection. These have been in place for a period of time, and we have received no complaints as a result of these locations, again, within close proximity to residential. The last one, or second to last one, is at Woolbright and South Jog Road, again, within a shopping plaza, with residential immediately to the west. Again, you can see, similar to ours, the building provides that separation between the ambulatory entrance and the residential units to its west. And then the last one, this one's a little different context. The residential's a little further away, but this one is actually a new one that's under construction. It's at Glades Road and State Road 7. It's there at the south end of the plaza. I believe it's called Mission Bay is the name of the plaza there, with residential again to the west. But all of these freestanding EDs, find themselves within proximity to residential, within proximity to hospitals, and they provide for, the freestanding EDs provide for those additional beds and those additional facilities that ensure that those in need of it have those options within close proximity and can have that quick response time. So that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. I'll leave it to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this time we'll have staff. Ms. Dossery.
All right. Good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Rebecca Dossery. I'm a principal planner in development services. So the location of this is 3921 West Atlantic Avenue. It has transitional land use and planned office center zoning. It's currently vacant. Transitional land use is a low-intensity is designed to accommodate low-intensity non-residential uses to meet varied community needs and accommodate development patterns that balance changes in intensity between different land uses. So the request is for the conditional use approval for 24-hour or late-night component of the business. Medical office, which this is classified as, is allowed by right subsequent to approval of the site plan and issuance of appropriate local licensing. But it's the 24-hour component of the use that's before the board today. So why is this a conditional use? Our LDRs require that any 24-hour or late-night business within a 300-foot straight line route from residentially zoned property has to obtain this conditional use approval. And as you can see, just to the north of the parcel there and to the south, it is within 300 feet of residentially zoned property. The purpose of this regulation is to promote the health, safety, general welfare of the citizenry and to provide conditions on the use that can minimize any negative impacts on residentially zoned properties. In that spirit, the code has regulations that allow the board to establish conditions when the use is requested, any conditional use is requested, limits on the hours of operation or the longevity of the use, and further, the conditions can relate to making sure it's compatible with the use and nearby development, consistent with the requirements in the LDRs, and consistent with the comprehensive plan. The code establishes two sets of findings, one for conditional uses in general, that they cannot have a significantly detrimental effect on the stability of the neighborhood or hinder the development or redevelopment of nearby properties. And then specific to the 24-hour or late night use, there is another set of findings that need to be made in order for it to be approved, that the use is consistent with the housing element of the comprehensive plan, specifically policy 1112, which says that new development has to demonstrate compatibility with respect to noise, odors, dust, traffic volume, circulation, and if it is determined that the proposal will degrade the neighborhood, then it either needs to be modified or denied. So finding that there may be some impact is not automatically grounds for denial if the board were to find that a certain condition could limit any negative impacts. The property surrounding the subject property is a mix. To the east and to the west is commercially zoned medical office uses, and it's to the south across the 120 feet of Atlantic Avenue right-of-way that we have one residential community, and then to the north across another parcel that another commercial parcel which is currently vacant, but as was indicated, owned by the current ownership group. That provides a current division between that and the High Point community to the north. So there are required findings related to 4 different factors: land use map consistency, compatibility with the comprehensive plan, and compliance with the land development regulations. So medical offices and clinics are allowed within the POC zoning district, and POC zoning is an implementing zoning district for transitional land use. The board would need to find that the application meets concurrency standards. So there's sufficient solid waste capacity and water and sewer capacity. It's currently served by municipal water and sewer. The anticipated increase in trips is 271 per day, 17 peak hour, and they're anticipating 1.1 to 1.2 ambulances a day. And again, that's averaged out, not that we're receiving a partial ambulance trip. So we also have to find consistency with the comprehensive plan. So we have a lot of policies about making sure that our land uses are consistent and complementary to adjacent uses. Transitional land use specifically is designed to create a transition between different levels of intensity in land use and zoning. And we do have policies regarding similar uses, intensity, height, and development patterns facing each other, but also that uses need to meet the daily needs of residents and fulfill remaining land use needs. So in this regard, medical offices are adjacent to the east and west, and there is a public benefit from an FSED, which is subject to the same regulations as hospitals in that they are required to treat all patients regardless of ability to pay. The West Atlantic Avenue corridor as a whole has a wide variety of commercial uses along it, commercial and residential uses, commercial activities serving local neighborhoods and those a little bit further out as well. We have policies about supporting legacy industries, with healthcare being one of them, and we require, the comprehensive plan encourages the good job creation through the development of industry clusters, of which healthcare is one of them. And it also speaks in the economic prosperity element about access to quality healthcare being an important component of economic prosperity within the city. We have a number of policies related to enhanced quality of life for residents, access to food and healthcare, and we specifically within the comprehensive plan say that this should be healthcare offices and clinics should be along corridors and within commercial districts. So again, to come back to the requirements for approving a late night use, there should be a security plan, which our applicant has gone over in great detail, so I'm not going to go into that in detail, but I think an important consideration for the board is the buffering requirements. So I'm going to go into that now. So there's, again, the natural buffer to the south that's provided by West Atlantic Avenue. And then the vacant parcel to the north is 255 feet deep, and there's an existing masonry wall within High Point, so that in itself provides some natural buffer. And again, I just wanted to also make note, although that property to the north is under the same development, there's no development proposal associated with it, but the conceptual site plan submitted by the applicant does include that parcel for uses with the landscape buffer along the north and for on-site stormwater drainage. There's a few different code requirements we have that relate to potential impacts. All lighting anywhere within the city is required to be full cutoff, and there can't be any more than 0.25 foot candles overspilling at the property line. Related to sound, they're anticipating 1.1 to 1.2 ambulances per day, and sirens and lights would be for any code 3 emergency response. We do have someone from fire here, I believe, that could answer any questions. Oh, good. Okay, they could answer any questions you may have in that regard. But and then the landscaping on the following slide. So the the tree line lined in red is not required as part of this application, but the applicant is proposing that anyway. So if the board really finds that important to making a positive finding that this will not have a negative impact, you could condition that tree line as part of your approval. And then this site plan that they have submitted, the conceptual site plan, is generally compliant with all of the requirements of our LDR. Between this meeting and the last, they added a few trees to complete that line along the north part of their parcel. It's with the green box. And as the applicant noted, they've rotated their design so that the public entrance would be adjacent to the neighborhoods to the north, and the ambulance entrance would be along West Atlantic Avenue. So again, to summarize everything, I've listed off a lot of policies and considerations, but just to bring it back to the required findings that all of this data has to be filtered through. The finding must be made that this use will not have a significantly detrimental effect on the neighborhood or hinder development of nearby properties. That the use is consistent with the comprehensive plan policy regarding compatibilities, that the security plan is adequate, and that there's adequate buffering. So to summarize the considerations, first, if this is an appropriate location for this business, the 24-hour or late night business, if the proposed landscaping is sufficient to shield the residential areas, if the location of the ambulance entrance on the south side of the building should be made a condition of approval, and if the 24-hour late night use is compatible with the adjacent neighborhood for all of these factors of noise, odors, dust, traffic volume, circulation, etc. And then that brings you to your options for action, and I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate for the Assistant Fire Chief to present as part of staff presentation?
I would, yeah, that's fair. You want
Does he have a
to speak to
presentation?
him?
I thought we
He's
just
going to
had
sum.
questions.
Well, we could do it either way, but he's prepared to summarize what the fire department position is.
Yeah, that would you please, Chief, Deputy Chief?
Good evening. My name is Travis Franco. I serve as the Deputy Fire Chief for the Delray Beach Fire Rescue Department. I know that all of you received the email from the Fire Chief earlier today, which surmises kind of where the Fire Department stands on this. Is there any specific questions that anyone has that I could answer, or is there anything that you would need from me?
I do have a question
Yes, sir.
for you. In regards to sirens,
Yes, sir.
I understand if, based on what I read and what Chief Martin told me, if it's time critical, there's a possibility of taking somebody, lights and sirens and ambulance to this freestanding place because that's the quickest place to go.
So, yes.
Basically, in layman's language.
In layman's terms, we have other, it would, For us to take a critical patient to this facility, it would be a very, very rare instance in our opinion.
But
It is possible. However, we have a practice that once we turn off the main thoroughfare, the siren goes off.
that's what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
so
Once
when-
you're turn
Yes, sir.
into the parking lot, the siren
The
comes
siren
off.
goes off. We
Okay,
have
thank
to
you.
keep them on when we're on the main roadways, but once we turn into the parking lot, it goes off.
Thank you. That was my question.
Yes, sir.
I had two questions, if I may.
Yes, sir.
One was item 4 in the chief's write-up, where he's talking about patients that would not be brought there. Any patient that our clinicians can reasonably anticipate needing advanced medical care beyond the emergency department would not be taken there. Is that the way to read that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And just as a matter of curiosity, talk about concurrency. What?
Our concurrent calls?
Yeah.
So a concurrent call would be when we have simultaneous calls going on throughout the city, where we have multiple calls. And there are some instances where we could have 3, 4, 5 simultaneous calls going on at one point in time. So I think the point the fire chief was making in that is we could have a situation where as the unit, the rescue truck, the ambulance was leaving the standalone facility, it could be dispatched to another call. So as it's pulling out onto the roadway, a siren may have to be activated for the safety of the roadway. That's what he was alluding to in that instance.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
We heard a lot about Delray Medical last time, but I know that, or my question is, people are, something happens and they live in the northeast section of the city,
Okay.
like on Swinton, like Ida. Do they always go there? Or do they also use Bethesda as well?
So it depends on the circumstances with the patient. If the patient, we try our best to transport the patient to the facility in which their doctors are affiliated with. However, there are certain instances where the condition of the patient dictates where we take them. So we can't always take them to the facility that they want to go. Sometimes we have to go to the closest facility.
So but I'm saying, we do have 2 hospitals we utilize right now, right? Mostly.
Our primary 2 transport hospitals would be Bethesda East
Right.
and Delray Medical Center. We also transport, when appropriate, to Boca Regional, and we have at times transported to JFK.
Okay, that was my question. More because I know we talked so much about Delray Medical, and I think Bethesda gets lost that it's,
Yes, sir.
it's an available resource.
About how many times a day would you say there is an ambulance flying by this site on its way to Delray Medical Center with sirens going?
Well, we average about 60 calls a day. Of that, I would say 45 elicited transport. Maybe, this is me just kind of giving you my best educated guess, so don't hold me to it. I would say anywhere between 10 to 15, 18 times maybe a day. But again, that's without having all that data set in front of me. But
That's with the sirens on, or with the sirens on going down?
going down Atlantic would be.
Going down
yeah.
Atlantic.
Yeah, if we're on Atlantic Avenue and we're driving what we would call emergent response or a code 3 response, we have our lights and sirens on.
So,
But not every transport we do
right.
is a lights and sirens transport. Some of it is just code 1, and predominantly, if we went to this facility, it would be what's called a code 1 non-emergent response, so there wouldn't even be lights or sirens on. And when we go code 1, we have to adhere to all the rules of the road. We go,
No,
things like
understood.
that. Yes, sir.
Understood. Okay, so in that instance, then, the sirens would be closer to the neighborhood on the south than the sirens would be going to the freestanding medical clinic.
If we were
Because you
traveling
turn it off
westbound,
when you get in there.
Well, yes, we would turn it off when we got into the parking lot, if we even had them on to begin with.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tron, anything?
No questions for him, no.
No. Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. I need to get my notes out here because I don't want to get lost.
Public comment.
Public comments are next. Yeah, anyone who wishes to speak, state your name and zip code and make sure you've been sworn in. Please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. I'm Lori Vinacore, 33446 is a zip code. I'm president of the Alliance of Delray, and I'm also on the board of governors at Delray Medical Center. You're in receipt of several letters from the Alliance enumerating the many reasons why this application should be denied. Freestanding EDs are not generally found mid-block and behind the bedrooms of residents, and the applicants can still have their medical offices, but please allow the residents to have their quiet enjoyment. The data presented by the applicant is based on one ED owned by the parent company and does not represent the demographics of this area, that 1 to 1.2 ambulances a day. It is from one ED in the North County. Sirens may not be blaring when the emergency vehicles come in. Of course, state statute prohibits any municipality from keeping the emergency vehicles from running their sirens, but if the patient's condition deteriorates within that ED and they need to go to a hospital, the sirens would certainly be blaring when the patient's condition escalates. So, and they need to be transported to the parent hospital 20 minutes away. Then this leaves loved ones having to travel 20 minutes when they need to visit their relative, if that relative is sent to the parent hospital. Nearly all of the EDs that the applicant showed were within shopping centers. So this shows that they just don't fit next to residential. It's just not a good fit. Freestanding EDs were established to provide services to underserved areas where a hospital ER is not nearby. It has just been shown that there's Bethesda, there is the Delray Medical Center. We have a Trauma 1 Medical Center 4 minutes away. Please deny this application.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Santina Rizzo. I am at 222 High Point Terrace West. We at High Point and the communities who border this proposed project have reviewed the revised plans to turn the building around so that the ambulance bays face Atlantic Avenue. Although JFK may think that this will eliminate the noise and inconvenience of having this facility nearby, it's only an attempt to appease the community and have the zoning change for the building plans approval. We are here today because we feel that a 24/7, 365-day-a-year emergency center does not belong on this parcel of land bordering 4 residential communities. We do not oppose the location of the building on said property. We oppose the type of building and its requirements to change the zoning, which has been in place for many decades. The need for this freestanding emergency department would better serve the residents in West Delray, along maybe Route 441, where there is no hospital or emergency department conveniently located. Delray Medical Center is just 1.5 miles away from this parcel and is a state-designated Level 1 trauma center, providing the highest level of emergency and critical care for severe injuries, with 24/7 trauma surgical teams and specialized care. This makes the need for an additional emergency center so close to Delray Medical Center actually pointless. All the nearby local businesses are following the standard business schedule for opening only during the day. This area should not have to change the zoning to accommodate an unnecessary and unwanted by the residents a 24-hour-a-day business. I understand that JFK has a large financial commitment to this property. I would like to ask if they would consider operating a business that stays within the current requirements. An urgent care facility facing Atlantic Avenue with single-story campus-style medical offices in the rear would be something to ponder. This would be a project that would stay within the current zoning regulations, be profitable for JFK, and be a tremendous relief to the communities and adjacent businesses impacted by this proposal. If we allow this zoning change to go into effect, other businesses along West Atlantic Avenue could follow with the same demands. This will truly change the landscape of this quiet area from residential to a busy commercial environment. The proposed emergency department will have a negative impact on the lives of the residents of all 4 communities that border it. I ask that you deny this change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Gigliotti. I'm at 172A High Point Terrace West in Delray Beach. I'm here to talk about the hospital emergency unit. I never heard of a hospital having an additional emergency room for their hospital base. Never heard of it. We respect the thoughts of people, but the thoughts cannot conflict with other people's thoughts. Movement to this new area will increase the traffic, the noise, additional lighting, and affecting the communities surrounding the entire areas. In order to accomplish movement to this area, it will require new zoning. Why is this project so necessary when we still have Delray Beach Emergency Hospital connected to their hospital? I hope that the board will take all of this into consideration and will vote no on this project. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Eric Lieberman, zip code 33484. I'm a cardiologist, been practicing in Delray Beach for 25 plus years, on staff at Delray Medical Center and the Chief Medical Officer of the Palm Beach Health Network. I'd like to echo what's been said by some of my predecessors in terms of the added value that a freestanding ER brings versus the cost that's involved to the accompanying residents. There's no doubt that freestanding emergency rooms have their place in a community which is underserved by an emergency attached to a hospital, where emergency services are absolutely necessary for patient survival and patient care. When those services are readily available with an extremely short transit time to a facility that can offer 24/7 care in an existing full-standing hospital, one has to question whether residents should be inconvenienced by the noise and traffic that would accompany it. My concern also is not what our fire rescue or first responders would do. I trust their clinical judgment to decide when a patient's having an acute event that's going to benefit from hospitalized services or require advanced care, whether it be care in a cath lab, care in an interventional neurology suite for stroke. But my concern is the inherent message it sends to potentially residents in the area, which will bypass going to a primary medical center such as Delray or Bethesda, where they can get taken to a cath lab with an acute MI or get taken to an interventional neurology lab for stroke care, and where those delayed time by being seen in a freestanding emergency room and then transferred to a subsequent hospital is going to lead to poor outcomes. I'll focus on cardiology since it's my area of expertise. We've known for many years, 40 plus years, that time is muscle. The quicker you have your artery open when you have a heart attack, the better your chance of survival, the better your chance of improved left ventricular function, squeeze of the heart muscle. Our average door to balloon time at Delray, meaning from the time you roll into the time your artery is open, is 47 minutes, well below national standards. For stroke, our average door to CT time is 15 minutes. Door to getting the artery opened in your brain is on the order of 65 minutes, well below the standards within the state and national standards. We will jeopardize patient care by having an emergency room that cannot offer those services, particularly when there is an emergency room within minutes of this proposed structure. So on the basis of both the healthcare needs of the population, the healthcare benefit of the population, as well as the inconvenience of the accompanying residents, I would recommend that this not be approved. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Speranzini. I'm with the law firm of Randall K. Roger and Associates. We're at 621 Northwest 53rd Street in Boca, 33487. I was here on December 15th, so I'm not going to speak for nearly as long. I was actually impressed with what was said by some of the residents of High Point. My firm represents High Point of Delray Beach Condominium Association, Section 1. And the only reason I wanted to stand up is you heard from specifically 2 of those residents, but there are many more that are here tonight and many more that were here on December 15th. So I just wanted to basically second what was said by the residents that did speak and to let you know that many more residents second what was said by the residents that did speak. There is widespread opposition among the membership of the association, the residents in High Point, to this facility as a 24-hour, because it will really impact negatively their peaceful and quiet enjoyment of their property. And so for that reason and all the other reasons that you heard here today, with the Delray Medical Center being so close by and really not being a need for this particular facility, we would urge and request this board to recommend that this not advance to the City Commission, that it be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's a creative way of getting
Mr. Board, Mr. Board and board members, thank you very much. My name is Donald Leslie. I'm at 222B High Point Terrace West. What I did not hear from the presentation from JFK or the Planning Board is the usage need. I'm aware that the state several years ago did some studies relative to underserved communities for medical care. I did not hear anything about that. And in my long history with Delray, there's plenty of health care, convenient doctor offices, hospitals, Bethesda, Delray Medical Center, and I did not see anything in any of the studies that I was able to find from the state that said Delray Beach is underserved. So I think this is pushing too far in an area where service is not needed to this extent. If you want to put some more doctor's offices in, fine. I'm also concerned about the traffic patterns at Atlantic Avenue and Homewood Boulevard. I believe Mr. Katz said he passes that site quite often.
Right on.
Right now, there's some development in that area. You're putting in some very heavy poles. I'm sure it's relative to some accidents that may have occurred in that area. I think increasing traffic patterns in that spot would be not a good situation, especially since I think you're already trying to address that. Also, if you realize High Point, Homewood Boulevard, as it crosses Atlantic Avenue, runs directly into High Point Boulevard, which is a private road. It's not a public access road. My concern is if you have ambulances being dispatched and or emergencies coming in, or an increase in traffic patterns into a doctor's office that looks like a lot of parking spaces. I don't know how many employees would be there, but I've seen diversion of traffic already onto High Point Boulevard. And that could cause harm to our community. It may even cause us to have to set up a security system or a security gate. We don't want to have to pick up the cost of that, and we might sue the city if we had to do it. I don't want to do that. I'm not speaking for the people of our community. But that could be an extra expense that our community would have to bear for our own safety. I ask you not to approve this site as presented by JFK Medical Center, and I appreciate your time and patience.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, public comment is closed. At this time, does the applicant have any rebuttal or want to cross-examine any witnesses?
So I'll leave off the cross-examination. For the record, Brian Seymour, I'm the attorney for the applicant. I just want to make one point about the last comment about traffic. This conditional use doesn't generate the traffic. So I want to be clear, the conditional use is the time. The use itself is allowed, and it's actually far less traffic than you would see from a number of other uses that could be there. So while we understand there's always a traffic concern when you do development, what's before you tonight is not that traffic. So I'm sure they, go ahead. This is, you can confirm with your staff. You don't have to believe me. As to the rest, the code, the comp plan, it's all very clear. The staff went through that. This is quasi-judicial. Those standards are met. And we did a lot of work, even though they don't want it anyway, even though they don't care what we did, we added three. We added the three effective layers of buffering. The building, landscape at the north end of the parking lot, and a landscape that we otherwise don't have to do at the north end of the property. So regardless of that, they wouldn't work with us. We tried to do what we can to work with them. That resolves the issues. Your fire chief and your deputy fire chief talked about ambulances. They talked about sirens, the issues that were raised. So the clarity is there for that. But the one thing no one had talked about was the traffic. So I wanted to make that point that, again, this is the hours of operation is all that's before tonight. And again, you don't have to believe me. You can ask your staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Dustry, do you have any rebuttals?
No rebuttals, but just a point of clarification that this isn't a zoning change. It's a use approval for the late night component of the use. The use itself is allowed. It's the after midnight part of the use that is before you all as the board.
Thank you. All right. Board comments. Does someone want to start?
I started last time. I was the only one to speak, so we can start on the other side this time.
I'd rather not. I'd rather not, out of
Okay.
all due respect.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, sure.
Please, Mr. Strawn.
So, again, this is the second time we've reviewed this as a board, even though we didn't get to a vote the first time. And I've given it a lot of consideration, a lot of thought. What I found during my time on this board is whenever there's a new project or a new business that's going in next to a residential area, the residents generally don't want it, right? Most people are resistant to change things that tend to affect their daily way of living. And I get that. But I have to look at the general public purpose of what this project will provide to the residents of the city of Delray Beach, not just the residents that live in the residents that live in the communities next to it, but we have a whole city that can be serviced by this. We have the set here. We have other locations within the city that can be serviced by this. And I look at, and let me make this point. The desirability of the project being placed in a specific place is not what we're charged to look at. Whether or not residents like it is not what we're charged to look at. We are charged to determine whether or not the facility and the plan that is proposed fits within the LDRs. That's it. That's it. Whether it fits within the LDRs. Any arguments you make about the noise, about the traffic, that's not what we don't look at that. We look at whether or not it fits within the LDRs. And if those concerns are part of that LDR analysis, then we will take that into consideration. But I wanted to point out something that was very poignant to me, that the chief stated in the last sentence of his letter. Fire and emergency medical services operations come with some inherent noise and disruptions to daily living. This is often necessary for both our safety and the safety and well-being of our community. there's going to be a little bit of inconvenience. There's going to be a little discomfort when you're trying to do things that benefit the residents of this city. You don't throw out, you don't throw out I tell you what, you don't cut your nose off to spite your face, okay? Safety and welfare of the city should be our utmost importance to us in making these determinations. I also looked at the fact that the chief himself stated in, paragraph 3, a freestanding emergency department introduced into the emergency medical services system eased the system-wide burden of offering an alternate transport designation for low acuity patient population. So again, the chief himself is saying, look, this will benefit the city. It'll ease the burden off of the fire department, which in turn benefits the city. So when I look at that, and I look at what we're charged to do in terms of the LDRs, one of the highlights of the LDRs that we look at is the detrimental effect, right? Anybody worth their salt can argue anything causes a detrimental effect. But it does that detrimental effect pass any type of legal muster or any type of scrutiny? And that's what I'm looking at. And I don't think it does. The noise complaints, I'm not swayed by any of the arguments regarding the noise complaints. The applicant actually went an extra mile and provided buffers that it didn't have to do to avoid the noise. We heard from the deputy chief who indicated that, you get 18 passes a day there on average. And not all of those 18 require sirens. And when they do require sirens, they turn off as soon as they turn into the parking lot. So there have been not necessarily concessions, but there are things in place to limit the amount of noise that you all are going to get. And again, we're talking about a small microcosm of the city as opposed to all of those individuals who could benefit from this. So when I hear from the police, the fire chief, I look at what the applicant has done to try to minimize the effect of this project being placed in the position that it's there. They turned the building 180 degrees in their plans. Again, they added extra buffers. So, and they've done this without the input of the community, according to what the applicant stated, because you all didn't return any of their calls. So, I'm inclined to agree with it. I don't think we're looking in the landscape or anything, right? So, all right. So, just don't cut my head off. Yeah. I guess as it relates to the buffer, yeah, maybe.
All we're looking at is can they stay open at night?
Right. And I have not heard anything or read anything that says that it being open 24 hours runs afoul of any of the other yards that we're charged to look at. So, I'm in support of the project.
A quick clarification. So you're looking at the landscaping only insofar as you think that you want to condition the approval on, or make that a condition of approval.
Mr. Pat.
Rebecca, clarify the distance again for me. The applicant said that they're 392 feet from the property line. But then they keep measuring to the line of the facade of the buildings. How far should they be away from the property line? That's all I care about.
So the only requirement in the code is that if from property line to property line you're within 300 feet of a residentially zoned property. So the distance of the building to the other buildings is less of a factor. It's zoning to zoning, parcel by parcel. That on the screen in front of you, the parcel that's shown in blue, that parcel itself is 255 feet deep.
But the freestanding ER, how far away is that from the property? It's supposed to be 300 feet from the property line, correct?
Well, but her definition, can I jump in?
Yes.
Is measured from property line to property line, not from edge of a portico share or an edge of a building. It's measured from a property line to a property line. So if that's correct, can you take it from there and describe it to the next level?
Sure. So from that dark blue outline you see there with the dotted line around it. That dotted line represents 300 feet from the edge of the parcel, and that's how our code measures it. So the actual building, as presented this evening, is further than 300 feet from that north property line. I haven't
The
measured.
building is so you don't measure from the building.
No.
Right. Okay. Because, it does seem to me that that the applicant has made an effort to alleviate some of the concerns that the residents had. The complaints were heartfelt. I also think it is important that a conditional use is not a zoning change. It just allows later 24-hour service. So the people who were contending it was a zoning change, it's not a zoning change. And the applicant did make significant concessions to attempt to alleviate the concerns of the neighbors. Had they come in here with the request for waivers and variances, I would certainly be more inclined to listen to the concerns of the neighbors, because that is infringing. Waivers and variances do infringe on neighbors.
So if when they come in with the site plan, they would request a waiver or a variance, all those require public notice to within 500 feet, so everyone would get notice of any relief requested.
But there are no requests for waivers and variances by
No, the site plan has not come in yet. So this is odd in that the use itself is allowed, but they are required to be open 24 hours.
Right.
So even though, so they wanted to come through a little bit earlier with just the 24-hour portion of the use, but when the site plan comes in, if there's anything that does not comply, it would go through the public notice process for where the members of the public would know of any relief requested.
Okay.
Stands the 24-hour period if we vote on it now.
We're just voting on the conditional use for 24
Yes,
hours.
this is just to allow the.
So if they subsequently come in for waivers and variances, then I'm more inclined to listen to what neighbors say about that. Let's see, was there anything else? I think that's all for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Penn. Mr. Chard.
I'd first of all like to thank everybody who came out, having once in a while tried to organize neighbors to show up in city commission or city board meetings. I know it's a challenge, and taking out time from your own personal lives to do this is very, very impressive. What I'd like to do is address some of the questions that were raised by the community. And I want to hit again this issue, the difference between zoning and conditional use. And it's significant because conditional use actually anticipates that particular use and allowing it if it's approved. Zoning specifies exactly what is happening, and it's a higher level of proof in order to get a zoning change. So I think that is a significant difference. A couple of comments. One of the speakers said that they had never heard of hospitals having freestanding emergency centers. Could the applicant address that? Is that a common occurrence? I was a little struck by it being that strong, never heard of.
So, yes, Mr. Chard, we can, and we showed you, I think, 4, 5. See, that's why John does presentations. And that's not all of them. So this is something that happens, it actually happens throughout the state of Florida. Again, they're in a variety of different locations, a variety of different places. It's obviously feasible that someone wouldn't understand that, wouldn't know, had not heard of it, but this is not something that is rare. Delray Medical Center has them. We have them. I think Baptist has them. I think the Cleveland Clinic is now looking for some. So this is not an abnormal thing. They happen all up and down, not just here in Delray Beach.
I guess you kind of have to get to the why. One of the residents talked about usage, that the usage case hadn't been proven. Can either you or John address that question?
So the usage case is made by the hospital, and I'm sure Delray has the same thing, right? They have a tenant. Delray's a tenant hospital, so we're an HCA hospital. But HCA has staff planners and market people who evaluate these, figure out where they can make sense, where those needs are. Need is relative, right? And so the chief talked about the fact that it relieves the burden on the system. Well, that's because the system is burdened. And so that's where that comes from. So it isn't something that is random. It is something that is thought through. They look around and say, okay, here's where, based on existing wait times at every hospital, not just their own, drive times, location, whatever it might be, residents that are around, commercial uses that are around, what kinds of things generate the potential need. And that's why they put their money, in this sense, where their mouth is.
And I'm not sure quite who should answer this one. There was a case made by one of the citizens that we are, by doing this, jeopardizing the health of the patients. I guess the meaning there being that the time is greater, you drop them off, pick them up, or the facilities.
So that was a statement by someone on behalf of Delray Medical Center who doesn't want this, because obviously if it's not there, everybody's going to go to Delray Medical Center. These happen all over the place. Mm-hmm. And there's not jeopardizing care. Delray Medical Center's ER, that is freestanding ER that's near JFK, doesn't hurt care, right? So there's no evidence of that. A statement doesn't create the evidence, and there is no evidence of that, and these exist throughout. And I think the chief made the point about the care. It actually provides more opportunities for the care, relieving other burdens, which ultimately helps everybody involved. So this is
intuitively that makes sense, but I just wanted to.
Yes, sir.
And the final thing, as I recall, when we left here a month ago, you and the residents' lawyer were going to get together. So we're now 4 or 5 weeks later, and I just have to express that.
We're 2 months later.
2 months.
And I did reach out. In fact, right after I spoke with Mr. And forgive me, Andrew, if I mispronounce your name, Mr. Sparazzini, and emailed him that night with my contact information, let him know we would be revising plans, working on some things, offered to meet ahead of that if they would like. We did not hear anything. When we got our revised plans, I did reach out. I emailed him 2 or 3 times, I don't remember, and I did call as a follow-up and left a message and did not hear anything back. So we did reach out, we did try. Again, despite that, the comments that were stated about turning the building and additional buffering came from this room, and so we incorporated it in any event. But we did try to reach out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Katz.
Sure. So first of all, one of the reasons I went and visited Delray Medical, because and he just mentioned, the applicant just mentioned the word need, and my thought, if we actually need this? I think a colleague brought up a good point. Does the city need this or not? And I see the chief's letter saying that it doesn't hurt, right? It could be a help, but is there a true need? So that's why I wanted to see what we currently have. And I didn't go to Bethesda. I just went to at least one of the hospitals just to see what we had available, and it definitely looked to me like we're fulfilling the need right now. The one question I did ask while I was there, and I would ask the same question to the applicant in a minute, was how many of these patients that come into the ER end up into a hospital room? In other words, they have to spend the night. They're not staying just in an emergency room. And that answer, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 90%, you told me? 45%. So it was like half, right? It was like half. So it was half of the patients end up in a room. So my question is, with the standing ER, what percentage that come into that ER need a room? An overnight actual room, not an emergency room.
So, very few. I can't give you an exact percentage because I'd have to go pull the data points. But I think that the deputy chief made the point, and the chief made the point as well. Those acuity levels, right? The folks that they know going in, and I think the chief in his email talked about 4, 8, 12, 18, something along those lines. They know what is very likely to be necessary, so they're not coming to here. So it does happen where somebody could be at a freestanding ED and something happens and they need to be transported to another hospital, right? But the vast majority are not those people. One, most of them don't come in by ambulance, right?
Well, you have other clinics, so you must have the data. That's what I'm asking.
So
that was actual data she gave me.
So
You have that
there
data.
is actual data. I don't have it tonight, so I'd have to go pull that data. And by the way, we could. I don't know what they have either, right? They're here, so they have a freestanding ED. They could tell you how many people, I suppose, that if they have the data as well. So, but these are not used by those who are going to need that, and that was sort of the chief's point. Yes, it can happen. It may be someone who is able to get stabilized more quickly. They may be able to then be moved. There's lots of opportunity that comes from that, but the vast majority aren't transported out.
And if they are transported, they would only be transferred to JFK, or they would be transferred to Delray Medical. How does that work?
So if the only available option was JFK was Delray Medical Center to get them the care they need, you got to get them to the care they need. So the vast majority, though, again, they could be transported to JFK because they're not in that stage where we got to get them right here, or we don't have a service available, or whatever it might be. But the patient care always comes first.
Okay, that was my questions for you. My question is next to Ms. Dossary. First of all, I do want to thank the applicant for listening and flipping the building around. My question is, when we came to us last time, it was the residents that live north had a concern because of that. Do the residents that live south and now have the closer to them? They were noticed, but have they noticed since that change was made, and are they aware of it? Because now you have a property on the south that would have seen the original project, said, oh, the emergency room is going to be facing those guys, now it's going to be facing them, and they don't know anything about this, or they might not. That's my question.
So they received a mail notice for both hearings, for the December 15th hearing and for tonight. Everyone within 500 feet, so that would be an even greater area than you see on that 300 foot, obviously. So they did receive notice for both.
Okay. The buffer that they put, which also I appreciate too, the buffer of the trees on the north side. My question is, that would be part, so when they come in for a site plan, is their site plan going to include the property that they own that they're not developing?
So the application for the conditional use approval included both parcels, but I'll let the applicant speak to that more.
Yeah, the answer is yes, because we'd agree to a condition of approval that requires that buffer to be there, and so that would be part of the site plan.
Gotcha. I don't know. I really wish that they were putting medical offices there. We'd have a lot less problems here. It doesn't. You don't have to applaud. I haven't decided anything yet. I'm still really torn here. I really am. I see a lot of pros for it, but I also see the residents' concerns, especially those that live in that first row. And I think a lot of the other side too. If they really knew the impact, I think they probably just don't even know it's happening, even though they might have gotten notice. It just But I can't take that into consideration. They're not here. But the as a matter of fact, I told the applicant when I met them, I think if they had built, or at least part of it, with the project, the office building to the north of it, the residents might not even be here. So they put a 3-story office building there, right? A healthcare office, whatever it is. And a year later, they came to put that emergency room. They would know that impact. They would have a concrete buffer, essentially. So that's why this whole future site plan thing drives me crazy in all these applications. I see a lot of it. When I drive down Congress, there's apartments that were approved with future site plan of commercial that is nowhere near being seen. That's the question: is what is that future going to be? I wish it was a complete site plan for us to consider. I think that would help alleviate to me, and I agree with my colleague too, that's saying whether or not how it affects the residents, we don't have to take it to, but we do to a point, because it says if we diminish their value, their way of life, right? we have to take that into consideration. That's part of the conditional use. So I don't know. I'm still, I'm very torn on this, but I'm leaning no. But I'm just this. I really wish it was a complete site plan that would give us a complete picture to approve whether or not how that use would fit into what's there, because we don't know. You know, part of it is we'll diminish that. Maybe they can't put in what could be better there. We don't know that, because part of the conditional use requirements is will it diminish future land use adjacent. Yes, they own the property, but how will that affect it? I have no idea. Will they want to expand emergency room or do something? I don't know what will be there. That's my only problem.
Okay. Mr. Cope, you finally have anything to say?
Well, I mean, you've also said everything that's relative, and, you know, I don't want to repeat anything. Everybody's got a good point. But the bottom line to me is we're not here to decide whether or not this use is appropriate or not. It is appropriate. It's allowed. We're here to determine or make a judgment on the hours of operation. That's simple. So I think the applicant has gone above and beyond any expectation to show competent and substantial evidence that the things that our own staff is saying have to be met. I think they've all been met, and gone beyond that and flipping the building. And so we'll see them again with the architecture and the site plan and the landscaping, and they may or may not have development on the big gigantic open parcel to the north. It shouldn't have any impact really with the development of that site with what we're tasked with tonight. So I'm trying to boil it down into what we're really being asked to do tonight, and take this subjectivity out of, well, do we really need another one of these? We can't ask that. That's not our profession. Do we really need another coffee shop on every corner of Delray Beach? No, we don't. Do we need another Walgreens or a CVS on every corner? We don't. But if they're allowed to be there, you can't deny them the right of that. So,
Excuse me, this is board comments, not audience comments.
Is there going to be a little bit more of noise? Of course. Is there going to be a little bit of light spillage? Yes. Is there going to be a change? Yes, there's going to be a change in the way life has occurred there prior to this. But they're allowed this use, and I value the fire chief's opinion immensely. That carries a lot of weight. I can't decide. I can't find any reason why to deny it.
Okay, thank you. A couple of things. For the applicant, why does this have to be an emergency room? Why can't you put in an urgent clinic that closes at night?
Because it doesn't provide the same service. It doesn't provide the same care. It's not. This is a full ER with a emergency doctor staffed with CT. Everything you'd see in a hospital has to be here. It's a better, higher level of care.
Okay.
That's the differentiation.
All right. And my other question is kind of a nerdy statistical question, but your mean number of ambulance visits per day is somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2. So what's your standard deviation? In other words, that's an average. When on a day that has a lot of ambulances, how many is that?
So I don't have that data point.
Obviously the minimum is 0.
Obviously,
but
yes.
The maximum is infinite.
Well, theoretically it is, but there's also only so many days in the year. So,
it's per day.
I understand that. And we pulled the average. If you really want a mean with the standard deviation, I could do it as a mean. I can't, to be clear.
No, I mean, and I really don't want to send somebody off to do the statistical work. I'm just wondering how many, if there's a lot of ambulances, how many?
There are not. There never have been at any of ours a lot of ambulances, right? The average gets to the 1.2, but it's not like there's 0 for 2 months and then there's 30 in a day.
Okay.
That doesn't happen.
It runs at 1 to 2 to 3.
Right. It's
a day,
it's very low.
Or 0.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I think what Mr. Cope said, everything's been talked about to a large extent. And I have to agree with Mr. Katz. I'm really torn on this because there's a lot of yes and a lot of no, and it's very difficult. But again, I think the fire chief's opinion carries a lot of weight with me. And yeah, I have to say, I'll be right there. I have to say that I'm on balance 51 to 49 in favor. Mr. Katz.
Just, Mr. Austin, what was the impetus of this letter from, because we didn't have this at the last hearing, what preempted this letter from the fire chief? I'm curious.
So, well, last meeting, he was here and available to speak, but we didn't call him, I believe. But this time, I think it was just laying out.
I called him and talked to him. I think that's what generated the letter.
Gotcha, okay.
And they're always here and available, but just making it in formal written format, the considerations that they look at when they're looking at this.
Okay, I was just curious where it came from.
Pretty much what he told me on the phone is what's in his letter.
Yes, and Ms. Alvarez in our department also had been working extensively with them to understand how they would view this in light of their whole operations. So we just an added piece of information, knowing that this was a point of concern.
And this still has to go to the city commission as well?
The conditional use for the late night, yes.
Just a recommendation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Need a motion?
Yeah, I need a motion one way or the other.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Chard, seconded by Mr. Strawn. And Ms. Miller, would you call the roll, please?
Roger Cope,
Yes.
Mitch Katz,
Wish I could abstain. I'm going to say, I'm really like you, it's like a coin toss. I'm going to say no.
Deidre Strong,
Yes.
Jim Chard,
Yes.
Bryce Patton,
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes. The motion to approve carries.
That's,
Oh,
you
yeah,
didn't state it.
That's true. We forgot
We need to make the
that.
motion with conditions.
Let's,
Chair,
we
so
need to make, we just voted a motion and we do want to make
one of
conditions.
the, from a technical standpoint, I think one of the 5 members that just voted to approve should do a motion to reconsider for a motion for conditions.
Before we do that, what specific conditions are we talking about?
Let's reconsider and then talk about it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it's-
Okay.
I move that we reconsider the previous vote.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Could you call the roll again, please, Ms. Miller? To reconsider.
Roger Cope,
Sure, yes.
Mitch Katz,
Yes.
Deidre Strong,
Yes.
So you gotta
Jim
answer.
Chard,
Yes.
Bryce Patton,
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes, okay. Can I start this? I think one of the conditions has to be all the landscaping, including the landscape barriers on the property line and on the north property line. And I do have a question. It's 25 feet on center for the trees?
30.
25 or 30?
So the parking lot edge is every 30, but then the tree line on the north of the vacant parcel, that would be 25 feet on center.
Can we also condition the maturity level of the trees when planted? Because if they put small baby pines in there, it's going to be 20 years before they
So
actually
we do
provide a
have
buffer.
the standard that I believe they have to be 16
They were 18.
feet or 16 or 18 feet at time of planting.
18.
So that's 18. That's built into our code already. So if you wanted anything more robust than that, that would.
That's in the code.
I'd like
the
to hear the
18.
Richard chart on robust, mature trees. I've heard that before to give us this canopy that we want.
Okay, and the other,
So, Mr. Chair,
well, do
Mr.
we-
Chair, if I may.
They did say live oaks.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm going to try to simplify this because we presented a plan.
yeah, we want, that's what we want.
Correct. So I think, and I'll leave to Mr. Bennett to tell me I'm wrong, but I think and we'll work the actual detail of those conditions when we get to City Commission. But the recommendation, I guess, would be with conditions that would implement the site plan as presented this evening.
Yes, my recommendation, because this, if approved in the manner that you're going to recommend, that is a condition, and any change to that condition would then need to be a modification to their conditional use. So my recommendation would be to have some flexibility, so not say this size, specifically oak trees at these distances, et cetera, but I do think it'd be appropriate for you to say that the landscaping, building orientation, site layout, whatever parameters that you're discussing, be commiserate to the site plan sketches that were provided by the applicant as part of the application.
We would agree with that.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So it would be landscaping, building orientation,
And the
and
conceptual
layout.
site plan.
Yeah.
Pardon?
The conceptual site plan.
In accordance with the
Conceptual design.
conceptual site plan. I think we're under control. Can we try it again?
Oh, I'm not Jim. That's yours.
I'll make the motion just because whether or not I'm voting doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'll still
that's
make
fine.
a motion. I'll make a motion to make it easier.
Read the whole thing.
I'll move to recommend approval of the city commission a conditional use request. Conditional use for JFK Medical Center freestanding emergency department to allow 24-hour late night business freestanding emergency permit at the property located at 3921 West Atlantic Avenue, finding the request is consistent with the land development regulations and the comprehensive plan, subject to conditions that the landscaping, the placement of the building, placement of the entrance to the ambulance entrance location, as set forth in the proposed site plan tonight, be met.
Proposed or conceptual?
Conceptual.
Second.
Okay, now we have a motion by Mr. Katz, second by Mr. Strawn. And
This
Ms.
might be the
Miller,
first I
you
make a
get to
motion to
call
have
the
a
roll
different
again.
Roger Cope,
Yes, again.
Mitch Katz,
You know, with the conditions, I'm gonna say yes, and knowing it's gonna come back to us again anyway.
Deidre Strong,
Yes.
Jim Chard,
Yes.
Bryce Patton,
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes, so with conditions, it's 6-0, and it's not coming back to us, I don't believe, is it?
Well, they always come back with
Architect.
conditions and site plan.
Yeah.
Now,
So.
the site plan is gonna be a director's administrative, isn't it?
Not administrative, so I think with the size that they've indicated, it would be a level 2 site plan, which I believe could go to the, if they end up adding relief, it dictates where the board goes, but it may only go to the site plan review and appearance board, so
Okay,
it will depend on the final product.
thank you. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, everybody, for coming out, and sorry, it doesn't always work out the way you want. Are we gonna keep going or take a break or what? We've only got 2.
Can we take a 1 minute bathroom? Are we on break?
Yeah, okay, we're on break for 5 minutes.
amendment to the LDR to expand the medical arts overlay district. There are two ordinances related with this, and I'll get into why we're doing two separate ones in a moment. I'm going to enter into the record file number PZ 000442-2026. So we're amending a whole bunch of sections. So the first ordinance 1426, specifically expands the overlay district, and the next slide will show the exact proposed area of expansion. And then we are amending section 446, the medium density residential zoning district, to add medical office uses as a principal use within the overlay district. And then the second ordinance, number 1526, is really a cleanup ordinance. When the medical arts overlay was adopted years ago, the regulations were put in an odd location, and we're just making it more consistent with how we do LDRs. So this is the current location of the medical arts overlay district off of Linton Boulevard by Military Trail. It was established in 2011 with more institutional office uses within the overlay, like you see Delray Medical Center down there, and more intensive medical services. It's applied to properties in planned commercial zoning, POC, planned office center district, and community facilities. So the proposed expansion is over off of Lowson Boulevard near Congress Avenue. There's two parcels that are zoned medium density residential, RM. So the RM district, as a principal use, which is by right, it has the residential uses that you would expect. And then it also has things like community residences, parking lots, schools, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes. So some of the characteristics of these properties shown on the map that are proposed for the expansion, they have some characteristics that really warrant adding the medical office use on a limited basis to support on-site residents only. The medical office definition is here on the screen, and I apologize that it's so small. I have a habit of putting small words on screens, but essentially all of these lists, like the traditional doctor's office, day or night treatment, intensive outpatient, residential treatment levels 1 and 2, are all encompassed by the medical office definition. So again, adding the medical arts overlay district uses, but only when co-located with nursing homes, ALFs, community residences, and they're limited to services for the residents. So, and then section 4518, this shows how the map would change to expand the district. And then again, the second ordinance, we're just relocating those specific regulations for the medical arts overlay district. We have a number of policies in our comp plan that I think show that this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The finding must be made for any LDR amendments that text amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So in the uses for nursing homes and community residences have both changed such that their services are a little more broad than was maybe envisioned by the regulations when they were adopted. And so the location of this, these two properties is really well suited to incorporate and absorb some of those uses as part of the overlay. So you have your options for board action, and if you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Thank you. Who wants to start?
I have nothing.
Okay.
I have none.
My only question is Harbor's Edge on Linton and the Intercoastal is that, I think that might qualify as one of these districts. I don't know if you're going to have to find out and come back and bring it up again, because they are building a fairly substantial.
Yes, so we may look at that in the future as we're keeping an eye on all these uses and making sure our regulations are appropriate. So I think at this point, the kind of percentage of independent living and more residential uses is a lot larger on this property, formerly known as Abbey, now Cascades. The ALF right. uses have really, in the nursing home, they've gotten a little more expansive, and nursing homes inherently do, I think, a higher level of medical care than maybe in the past. So we will keep an eye on Harbor's Edge, and if we did, we would just bring back another amendment like this.
Okay. Yeah, because I talk about location, the pro site, they've got a buffer for an entire golf course. You know, so.
That is the southern edge of the golf course?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
No, I'm in.
Is that Harbor's Edge? I saw that the other day. Is that an
No, Harbor's
expansion?
Edge is on the canal.
Were you just talking about? Is that an expansion?
Harbor's
It's nothing to do
Edge.
with this, yeah.
It's a freestanding building, but it's
Yeah,
going to
we
be
approved
huge.
it. Maybe
I
it
think
was
I was there
before
for that,
you,
yeah.
but I was here. We approved them to build that building along.
Oh, I was before
Atlantic.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's before me then.
I can't remember. Medical stuff, I think. Mr. Trump.
No comment.
I'm not sure I have anything.
I just have I should have asked you this before. This is for Abbey, it used to be Abbey Del Rey. What about Abbey Del Rey South? Is that because it's in a different zoning district?
Correct. So they're
Okay.
already CF, which allows
They're not
more
in
institutional
residential.
uses.
Okay,
in.
I could have looked at the map that I
That's
asked you
right.
instead. Can we get a motion based on?
Recommend approval to City Commission of Ordinance Number 1426, a city initiated amendment to the Land Development Regulations, LDR, amending Section 4.5.18 Medical Arts Overlay District to expand overlay in Section 4.4.6 Medium Density Residential RM District to add medical office uses when co-located with certain residential uses, principal uses in the Medical Arts Overlay District, and ordinance number 15-26, a city initiative amendment to the Planned Commercial PC District, Planned Office Center POC District, and Community Facility CF District to correct the location of Medical Arts Overlay District regulations, finding that the amendments and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in land development regulations.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Katz, second by Mr. Chard, and Ms. Miller, would you please call the roll?
Roger Cole,
Yes.
Mitch Katz,
Yes.
Deirdre Strong,
Yes.
Jim Chard,
Yes.
Price Patton,
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes, and that passes 6-0.
That's how you make a motion.
William, on something like this, where there is a unanimous decision, do we legally have to read the whole thing?
My preference would always be for you to read the entire proposed motion, only because it definitively states on the record that you have made findings that it is consistent with the LDR or comp plan or other findings. You do routinely see other boards that just motion to approve. It's all part of the record, so, you know.
Yeah.
But my preference would be to read the entire thing, if you'll indulge me.
I just didn't want to tire out Mitch Katz.
Well, I texted our former member after she won her election because we used to take turns on this. I'm like, somebody's going to have to step up, so it's not just me.
Well, you know, next month she'll have appointed somebody.
Yeah, there you go. Whoever, they make that a condition of appointment.
Read the
Yeah, there you
captions.
go. All right. And item 9B, please.
Yes. Okay. Good evening. So I'm reading into the record file number PZ000513-2026. So it's amending the LDR to adopt a new process for reviewing architectural styles within the CBD. We are updating the sections that give the boards the authority to take certain actions and the architectural standards section in section 4413. Currently, the commission has the authority to approve the use of an architectural style if it is masonry, modern, or art deco, subsequent to review by the planning and zoning board. So this is, by popular demand, modifying the process to make it a little simpler. So, as you all know, the CBD has design guidelines that have 7 prescribed architectural styles for the downtown. They're deliberately vague so that it can allow creativity for architects that are implementing the styles. They relate to building composition, building articulation, storefronts, balconies, and it's all related to the historical precedent within the city. And then, so that is what guides those guidelines. So when the style masonry, modern, and art deco proliferated throughout the downtown, the commission asked staff to modify the approval procedures for these 2 styles. So at that point, we adopted the current process that we are proposing to change, which required the commission to approve the style. It has overall across the board been deemed fairly clunky to do that, and So this fix that we are bringing forth brings the authority to the professional design boards, or the boards with the professionals, to allow you guys to work work with the applicants to get a design that really matches the Delray style. The one change is that we're requiring this by the second technical advisory committee review, so that the applicants aren't getting really far into the process where the board maybe is having serious doubts about this. They could bring it up earlier in the process, which would possibly contribute to maybe more willingness to come up with a style that's more appropriate for the location. So again, this board would approve it, and then if it was a site plan that requires final approval by the city commission, PZB would still be the board that provides the approval to use the style. Again, we have these policies in the comprehensive plan about preserving the character of the downtown style-wise, and so this this proposed change is driven by that. And then we have your recommendations, and I'll be glad to, or your options for action, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
When you say clunky, do you mean like an applicant would have to, if they wanted to do Art Deco, and we've had a recent project that went down that path, they have to apply to the city commission to have the right to pursue Art Deco?
Yes.
When
So
Currently, yes.
currently, yes, because
yes, currently. I'm speaking currently.
yeah, there was concern that the style wasn't being executed in the Delray way that Art Deco is done, because they do have a lot of liberty within the design guidelines. And then again, with the masonry modern, again, some very some products that were coming forth for approval that the boards and the commission weren't happy with. So that was why this style, or this review path, came up, to give the boards and the commission a chance to really push for a style that was meeting the Delray expectations within the standards.
Could we run down the 7 styles real quick?
Yes, so I am going to kick myself because I think I had those slides in here hidden.
Yeah.
And, so
We don't,
let me pull this up 1 second.
Mediterranean, bungalow.
Anglo-Caribbean, Mediterranean, Anglo-Caribbean. I need to pull this up. Let's see.
Monterey, I think.
No.
Isn't there a Dutch?
See, these are super critical, you guys. You know, one word, one letter, could shift you from a thatched tiki hut to something else.
Yeah, so the styles in this are Florida Vernacular, Anglo-Caribbean, Mediterranean Revival, Classical Tradition, Art Deco, Masonry Modern. Pardon?
So yeah. Sorry, slow down.
I had a lot of coffee today. This is my downfall.
Okay.
And then Main Street Vernacular, and then there's
Main
always
Street Vernacular.
Which
Jesus Christmas.
yeah. So if there's like an alternate style that
Roger, there's pictures.
Yeah, there's a whole book.
the book gives the styles.
Of what?
Of
the
design
style.
guidelines.
Of the style.
The only change we're making is
What?
when we passed the design guidelines when I was on the commission,
Yeah.
we said we don't want people have to go through jumps and hoops. You follow this book, you're good to go. Then every architect in town said we're just going to do Mason Monterey or Art Deco, and the commission said enough with every building being. All right, we want to slow it down, so we're going to add a step, and you have to come to the commission. But that is taking a very long time. So this will, instead of going to the commission, they'll come to us for those.
And when the board has been seeing the architectural style, it's often been very far in the process. So what commission was seeing at approval was substantially the same thing twice, and it was just.
So tell us up front what you're committing to, and the city commission. Oh, for some reason, those 2 styles only.
Because everybody was building it, especially the Mason Monterey.
But
they're still doing it, and they still keep saying yes.
Well, because Masonry Modern isn't a style. It's not a style. There's no such thing.
They didn't have the guts to outlaw it. That's the problem.
That's the problem. They should have
put a moratorium on Masonry Modern and Art Deco.
And that's my frustration with this, is that we they've directed and we've directed and we've said it to staff 100 times, is we need to relook at the design guidelines are over 10 years old. They need to be looked at, and I get you are going to get with a consultant and do that, but we're just putting a Band-Aid on it right now instead of fixing the problem.
Well, essentially, yes. It is a Band-Aid, and we are looking at the design guidelines. There's a consultant that's actively working on that. So whenever we make substantial changes like that, we always like to bring it to workshops. And so it is in process, and you can expect to see more related to revisiting the guidelines. But for now, this is just making it easier to move through the process.
Rebecca, my concern is that they, I think there was like the last one we approved. They've been working on it for a year, and then it comes to us and they say, "Do you want it? Do you want to let them do it or not?" I have a hard time telling them not to do it. And they did, and it was by a good architect and stuff. But is this going to streamline how quickly it gets to us? And the other thing is, you're never going to see masonry modern in any historic district. It's just not going to fit.
So yes, again, so it will bring it by the time of the second technical review. So where the staff is reviewing it to solve any problems that are really like fatal flaws. It can't proceed if you don't figure this out. So at that point, after 2 reviews by staff, it will come to the board to get the blessing to proceed with that style. Or if there's any specific feedback on things you don't like, it's better to bring it early in the process rather than.
Yeah, because I don't want.
Rebecca, is there any thought to getting rid of architectural guidelines altogether?
Thank God.
They were proposed back in 2013, 2014, Kerry Glickstein, Jordana Jarjura, and there was a concern that developers were running wild in the streets, putting up buildings. And in my humble opinion, the style directions are so prescribed and so specific that it does not really let the architects do their job for their clients.
So as I am aware of, there are no discussions to completely eliminate them, but the process has always allowed for architects to come through with alternative styles. And in fact, on a number of these projects that you've seen dragging through the process, they were offered that route, and a lot of them chose to try to squeeze it into some other kind of box rather than going that. But as you know, the Ray Hotel did the tropical modern, and then we have that built into the code to allow alternative styles.
But isn't that one of the 7? Or is that the 8th?
No,
it would be whatever you want.
It's custom.
No. But I mean, are there 7 styles, and then the 8th is if you deviate from those 7, you have to go through this conditional use process, or are there 6 styles and the 7th is that process?
So there's 7 styles.
There are 7 styles.
There are 7 styles. So yes, like if you wanted to design one of the great buildings of the world, like the Sagrada Familia in downtown Delray, or the Dancing Building in Prague, you could come and ask for that, but you would have to come to the commission first, and then they would give their blessing, and then you'd go back and then design your site plan.
But my question would be, how many of those in the last 10 years have been done? The Ray is the only one that I can think of.
No, there's a little building on
3rd.
On 3rd of Miami Modern.
Miami Modern. So we've had 2.
3rd.
So few and far between.
Yeah.
Huh?
You can count them on the fingers.
I was the Ray.
You don't need to take your shoes off for that one.
Are we allowed to talk? The Ray said they'd never do it again because of the process. They'd never do it again. They should have sucked it up and stayed with one of the 7, and they would have been finished 2 years prior to when they finished.
Well, and what we've also done with the applicant that came in on the cigar bar, he was directed not to do masonry modern, and he went through all this process, and then after more than a year, I think he says 2 years, the city came back and said, no, you need to go back to masonry modern.
You can't do that.
Without having the planners here who worked on that, I don't know that that's exactly how it happened. So I would be very cautious of that. But if you have a particular question, you can always reach out to Mr. Ibrahim, and he can let you know exactly how that process went. Because usually, we try to be very. Again, at the beginning, we say, if you're not going to do one of the styles, then come in early and get your alternative style. And Mr. Ibrahim was the principal, and you'd have to ask him for the details of
Okay,
that.
well,
But we always have the expectations clear at the beginning for the process. It's what the applicants choose to do with that.
I can't wait.
That's not the applicant's opinion.
Well,
But anyway, I think there should be some way that we can consider getting rid of a better way to control the quality of the product, the complete building, than demanding it has to be these 7 styles.
The any changes will be brought to the workshop process. So at that time, I think we have the consultant evaluating it. But whatever major changes are proposed, the public will absolutely, and the boards will have a chance to comment on it.
Is it fair to ask who the consultant is that's working on all this? I mean, are they're
Yes, I think it's Stephen Fett Architecture.
That's the architectural firm somewhere out there.
Stephen what?
Stephen Fett is the architect, but I don't know if it's. I haven't been
Last
as
summer it was
involved in
Treasure
it.
Coast Regional Planning Council.
I think
They're
he
the
has
ones that
done.
did the first one.
They did the last one, 10 years ago.
So, and is it appropriate for us to
Actually,
go to a
Ms. Giannatis
workshop like
was
that?
part of that.
Do we have
Yeah,
to-
absolutely. Whenever we start to bring it through, any proposed changes or drafts or recommendations, it will come to the boards and come to the public, and whoever wants to give input on this would.
I mean, one of the first questions I would ask, I get this Band-Aid, I'm in favor of this. This is going to be, we support this, but man, we need to fix the bigger scab. This is there's a big problem, in my opinion. I don't know how many communities of 70,000 people have architectural guidelines that dictate what you can and cannot do. That's hard for me to swallow. And we've been doing it for so long. No wonder we're fed up with Art Deco. We're fed up with stuff that should never have been created. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Well, the 7 styles that were in the design guidelines were based on historical precedent for building form and architectural style within the downtown. I wasn't here when it was. I'm sure you were here,
So
but
right, of
that's
course.
so. We'll definitely bring it to workshop whenever we have a product and recommendations.
Frank Lloyd Wright walks in the room with a Houstonian style of architecture. We're going to say, I'm sorry, sir, you have to go through this other process. We don't trust you.
As Rebecca said, la Sagrada Familia.
Sagrada Familia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we want, if we want to be a community of diversity and free thinking
And exceptionalism.
and quality, that's kind of the heart. That we've lost a quality of architecture because all these guys. Oh, if we categorize it into this, man, we can dumb down the detailing and we can cut corners and use
Save money.
styrofoam instead of real stuff and it comes down to money and and then I'll argue till I go to my grave that some of these styles are not styles. These are things
What's
we
the question?
made
Can
up.
we out? So if you would, when it comes to this, can we outlaw the Mason Monterey and then, and then say do whatever you want besides that?
I don't
Because I think that would be an improvement.
I don't think it's about outlawing or discouraging. It's about allowing a freedom of choice.
Right.
Right, but freedom of choice, that's the problem. Everybody's going to come with a white square building.
No, they're
It's
not.
cheap to build.
No, they're not. No,
Well,
they're
they're doing
not.
it now with these white, every one after
Applicants-
another with the Mason Monterey.
Applicants go out and they seek an architectural firm that has product in their portfolio that they've done successfully that client admires, to some degree. I like what that guy does. He's in Phoenix, Arizona, but man, his stuff is cool. It's why, let him do that. That's called variety.
My question is this, though, and it's what he's saying. There's 7 things they can choose from, and they all choose blocks.
Right.
Because the
Getting
other
fed up
six-
with it.
But what's wrong with Mediterranean Revival or Anglo-Caribbean or something? I'd rather see.
Because it's passé. It's gone. Nobody wants to do that anymore.
Well, what do they want?
They want
ugly white
uniqueness.
square buildings.
That's my problem. Is everybody
this is
wants
where
an ugly white square building?
The public workshop will be important because Village by the Sea characteristic is what a lot of these styles embodied. So if the public really is going to say, yes, we think that we don't need to be the Village by the Sea anymore, we need to be a glass and concrete paradise, then that's where the direction will come from in the public workshops. So we don't propose decisions like this without public input. So it is forthcoming.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I support your concept of imagination. I just don't see it.
John, if we take imagination away from people shaping our built environment, we might as well just shut the door.
I think
go away.
I think the dollar bill signs has taken away their imagination.
I think we blew it, and we took away the imagination.
Well,
shall we make a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but with the condition that we
24 hours. 24 hours.
We
service.
what's the word? Support this with the condition that the Planning and Zoning Board will never approve masonry modern.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I second that motion.
I don't think you can do
So
that.
I would advise against such a condition.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a feeling.
recommend approval to the City Commission of ordinance number 2626, amending section 4.4.4.13F, architectural standards of the land development regulations to eliminate City Commission approval and to add determination by the Planning and Zoning Board, Site Plan Review, and Appearance Board, or the Historic Preservation Board, prior to site plan consideration, that the masonry modern or Art Deco architectural style is appropriate for the location and meets adopted architectural design guidelines in the Central Business District by finding that the amendment and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in land development regulations.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Chart, second by Mr. Strawn. I suppose we should call the roll again one last time, Ms. Miller.
Roger Coe,
Yes.
Mitch Katz,
Yes.
Deirdre Strawn,
Yes.
Jim Chard.
Yes.
Price Patton.
I'm going to vote no because I don't think we should have architectural standards.
Oh, excellent.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think we all agree on that, right?
We do, but that's not.
Yeah, but
that's not what we're asking.
Trying to send a message.
That's fine. You won't, but
I know. They won't listen to me, but
yeah, it doesn't.
my conscience is clear.
Okay, good. Staff comments.
No comments, just drawing attention to the next meeting dates, which are April 20th and May 18th. And by next meeting, you should have a new colleague here on the board to replace Miss Malika.
May what? May 8th?
May 18th.
April 20th, May 18th. Okay. Mr. Bennett.
Just one thing I heard that refresher in my mind about if there's these workshops or town halls and board members going into attendance together or discussing, if it's something that could come before the board as an item, then the sunshine law would still apply. So you can both be physically in some place, but just avoid any conversations about something that could come before the board. So just keep that in mind. Just a reminder about sunshine laws, just in case.
Any conversation amongst ours.
But if we want
Correct.
to speak at a meeting in public, like a workshop, we can, because that comment would be made in public, correct?
So, in a typical lawyer fashion, can I say it depends? If you got up as a member of the public and just said,
a sense of humor working with us.
"This is my opinion, Mitch Katz's opinion about this. I think we should make
Speaking
these
on your own
changes."
behalf, right?
If you walked up and said, "I really hope all my colleagues from the board,"
No.
or
No,
you know,
just say, I
things like
I hate
so,
modern
yes.
masonry. I can say that as a Mitch Katz, right?
But yes, that should not be a violation of sunshine in all likelihood.
We need that workshop immediately.
Okay.
Would it make sense for us to make the proposal that would then go to Anthea, who sends it to the city manager, and the city manager gives it to the commission?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a big question.
So I would say it's very preliminary in the process. I don't know that it may be a little premature to make any recommendation like that, but you would see it here. I imagine there would be a commission workshop on it. So there's all these different avenues, and likely workshops for the public. But
So
it's-
we're gonna be lucky if we live long enough to see it by the time it
Could-
comes here.
No, I will
I'm just
support you.
concerned that it'll be settled before we have our input, and that the consultant is not going to come back and say no guidelines as an option.
No, it's not gonna say that.
So I don't
mean,
think
no-
any type of formal motion is required or necessary. I would hazard to guess that there's been a communicated consensus by the board to be involved in this analysis or
Yeah.
discussion early on. I'm sure Ms. Dossery, if the Director of Development Services is not watching live, I'm sure she will, and she'll see your desires and to have early input, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Behooves
Yeah,
us all.
I just wanted to get an idea on how the board can
I have a quick
influence
question.
policy.
The April meeting, do you know how heavy that is already? Because I might be trying to save myself. I might miss it, but I'm not sure, depending on that. If it's a super heavy, I might stay.
It may be heavy, but we may need to also schedule another meeting. I know there's been complaints about the length of some of the board meetings, so we have to see who's ready to go for that meeting, and then we'll proceed accordingly and reach out to you all as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of April travel, that's why.
Okay. Any more comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
You have anything else?
No, I guess
Accepted
not.
that.
I'll save it for the
Meeting
workshop.
adjourned.